we're human beings. We're wired to want relationships with people that we trust and stuff. So I think it's massive low-hanging fruit for a business.
Welcome to another edition of the NiceJob Podcast. If you like what you hear, please give this video a like and subscribe to get new content first. As always, these are just the highlights of our episode. For the full conversation, head to our podcast platforms. All right, let's see who our guest is today.
Hey guys, it's Tom Reber here. And today we're going to dig into helping you change your mindset so that you stop stealing from your family and you reach greater success in your business. Let's do this.
We have a relationship with our next guest here, but even if we didn't, even if I just stumbled upon him, some of the many things I've seen on the internet, books or TV shows, stuff like that, I know I would gravitate towards this guest because not only does he try to help people, but he does it not, I don't want to say a tough love way, but in an honest love way of like, this is what it's going to take and this is going to have to do it. And if you're not ready to do that, then that's probably the end of my help. But he's always in our corner, and we are so glad that now he's in our guest chair, is Mr. Tom Reber. Tom, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us on the NiceJob Podcast.
Hey, I appreciate you having me here, Sean. How you doing today, man?
I am doing great, and I'm excited because I know you have a couple big things coming up on the calendar, but it's our first opportunity to really talk. We've had some discussions kind of back and forth to talk about. We were able to go to the Mile High Profit Summit, but I'm sure a lot of people are jealous of me. I'm going to get a chance to get a little one-on-one with you because at the Mile High Profit Summit, and I don't know if you would agree with my sort of assessment, but I got to kind of see you in action and really walk that balance that some people struggle with, which is being very real, very honest about, help, advice, and structure and what it's going to take, and still being encouraging while not kind of sugarcoating, buttering up, or painting this picture that isn't going to be possible without actual dedication and hard work. Do you think that kind of sums it up correctly?
Yeah, it's funny. Earlier when you said honest, that word, earlier today, somebody asked me, give me a word to describe yourself. And that was the word that I used. And they said, that's an interesting word. Why do you pick it? And I said, because I spent most of my life lying to myself, not being honest, not really sharing. And I went into that at the Profit Summit, a little bit of that baggage that I had. I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust my opinions and my intuitions and, my desires or whatever you want to call it. Right. So I'm 52 and I spent several decades actually suppressing my honesty, my truth, and this and that. So I'm at the point now where it was like coming out of prison in a sense, right? Like I'm just going to be me, love me, hate me, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I'm here to share my story and help people. And so yeah, I'd say it's a pretty fair assessment. Thank you.
And sometimes as people go through, a transformation or go through their own personal journey, there might be a little bit of doubt of having the confidence to actually take your story and share it, knowing that's going to help others. Is there a moment you can pinpoint where you kind of felt either the confidence is there or you felt the calling was there of like, hey, I can't just be successful on my own. I have to build my tribe, I have to build my team, and I have to help others and make sure that my impact goes beyond my world and actually helps on a larger scale?
Well, it's when like I said, when I stopped lying to myself and I just said, hey, I'm going to be me. That was really the turning point, is the reaction that I got, in the business world, especially. Everybody comes out, beats their chest. This is how many hundreds of millions of dollars we do a year and blah, blah, blah. And what I found is the more that I shared things like I rode the short bus in grade school and I struggled with certain self-confidence issues and I went bankrupt and I was, I don't regret this at all, but like my family was built through adoption. We couldn't biologically have kids, and things like that. And so the more I shared that, the more feedback I got from, grown men and women, predominantly men in our community, right? Of guys that are going, man, I'm so drawn to this because I felt the same thing. I felt this baggage and this and that. And that's when I really knew that we were making a difference here with what we're doing in the Contractor Fight. Is we were just cutting away all the fluff and we're like, hey, this is life. We're all dealing with something. We all have our baggage, our head trash. And I'm happy, not always easy, but I'm happy to lead the way in that authenticity and honesty.
And there certainly is a full package that comes with it,
Mm-hmm.
right? You make sure that every time you're giving a great marketing strategy, you're also addressing the mindset that goes into
Mm-hmm.
understanding how it's going to work, but then also kind of preparing yourself. We got a chance to take a look at the upcoming book, Winning the Contractor Fight. You were kind enough to give us a copy that Caitlin and I are fighting over to try to. Caitlin, our producer here, joins me in the community team. But one in particular, I looked at kind of in the marketing section. Of course, I was naturally kind of drawn to there. And
Sure.
as you get ready to kind of lay out some tips and some other things, you kind of have one last little like declaration, and you're like, look, if you're content with being mediocre, just keep doing what you're doing. Maybe just kind of skip along. Maybe kind of
Yeah.
put the book back on the shelf there. What is
Mm-hmm.
it that makes that mental mindset, that strength or that commitment, why is it so important and really almost perhaps the biggest part of that foundation building block? That look, you can have all the strategies and stuff, but if you're not mentally there, it's not going to be successful.
Um, well, it's limited self-talk. Number one is where everything starts. I've done everything right from or not everything, but I've done a lot of things right tactically and strategically in business and not had the success because my mindset didn't truly believe I deserved it. And I'm not trying to get all woo-woo on people and stuff like this. I don't know how all this works. I just know that it works, that what we feed our brain becomes our beliefs, and we don't act in conflict with what we truly believe there. And then our beliefs and our actions will then give us our results. And so I knew for years that I had to raise my prices, but I had all this head trash that, I can't raise my prices. You can't get that in my area, in my industry, and blah, blah, blah. And it's not in line with the going rate and all these other things we'd feed. Well, those became beliefs, which then when it came time to act and actually raise my prices, I didn't do it because I didn't truly believe it. And then I was stuck on that hamster wheel of crappy results. So, to me, everything starts in our mind. But then you got to back it up. You got to take the action because there's also the opposite. A lot of people can give themselves affirmations all day, but not lift a finger and go attack what needs to be done each day. So hand in hand.
And you're also very much about that you're earning it. You're going to get it, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
not kind of
Yeah.
sitting wait for you. And the one part in particular, because there's almost every single page I think I can make a podcast episode from this book,
Mm-hmm.
Tom. But the one I really would focus in on because it's something we kind of hear a lot more of in the reputation marketing space is a lot of people, come to us because they're trying to figure out how to solve some problems. And one in particular is generating leads. And
Yeah.
in your book, you put very definitively there's no magic like lead tree.
There's
I think
no
it's
magic lead tree, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of dive in that for a moment there. It's one particular is obviously leads are important, right? It's kind of organically getting there, but let's just start with like even if it, I'll say kind of did exist, right? I mean, maybe that's a little bit too more hypothetical, but what is it about these cold lead lists that just are so self-sabotaging? When people go and they look at these list generators and they feel like they found this magic elixir, but instead they set themselves so far back. Why is that just such a death knell for some of these businesses?
Well, you're not in control of your own lead flow. You're renting space. And listen, there are. Let me say this about you guys. Like we use you guys in our business, and I couldn't be happier with the results we're getting with our
We appreciate
reviews and
that.
things like that. You guys are knocking it out of the park. But a lot of contractors, they don't realize that they have to plant their flag on their own brand, be the champion of their own brand. That if you want to lead today, in most cases, it's going to be the result of what you did 6 months ago. You know, and so I see so many people go into business and they hire third-party companies to quote generate these leads for them. To me, that's no different. And there's a time and a place for that, but it can't be the hub of everything. I think your own marketing plan, your business, your website has to be the hub. And then you have other tools that you use, right? And a lot of guys get that backwards. So it's kind of like if I rent a billboard in town, billboards, when I had my painting businesses and things like that, we rented them and they were great. They did a great thing. But if I stop paying that company, the billboard goes away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
renting it, right? So our number one strategy that we've always followed in the fight, what we coach people is position yourself as the expert, build, produce great content, add value to people, be somebody types something in about your industry online, you should be coming up. That's what I talk about the most, is just plant your flag in the right place. And then as needed, you can bring in other tools and things like that. So, and it's about playing the long game too, man. There's a lot of impatience with people. You think, oh, I run an ad or I write a blog or I whatever, and the phone's going to ring tomorrow. I build a website and instantly the phone's going to start ringing. It doesn't happen that way. You got to have a degree of patience, which also lends itself to having other strategies in place, like shaking hands with people and getting involved in your community and meeting people and relationships and social proof like you guys are doing and all these things. It all adds up. You have to attack the whole field.
And I love you talk about like planting your flag in the right spot, because it's twofold. At least that's how I'm interpreting it, right? And so it's about planting the flag, making sure you get it in there, that you establish yourself. But if it's not in the right spot, if it's on the wrong side of the moon, then it doesn't really work there. And you talk about shaking hands, getting out there, being a part of your community. Do you think that's grown even more important given what we've gone through the past 2 years, and some of the, some communities have had their own issues, for whatever sort of reasons that I think we all can agree it's at least been a tough time, right? No matter what you kind of believe, we're kind of think it's been a tough time, and we've seen a little bit of connectedness. But do you think that's become more important, or is it just kind of almost, I don't say flavor of the month because that almost diminishes its value, but it's one of those like, look, 5 years from now, it's going to be just as important. And 5 years ago, it's just as important. Right now, maybe it's a little bit more top of mind, but it's a fundamental pillar.
Well, I think even before the last couple of years and the challenges that has brought, I think when, and I'm not slamming any tool or things that makes our life easier for, what's the word I'm looking for? Autoresponders and putting our marketing on
like more
autopilot.
Automation.
Yeah, more automations. That's the word I'm looking for. Like, I think that even before all this, when that started hitting the scene, I think people forgot that marketing and sales, building your business, is all about relationships. I've worked with people where I had one guy that we coached in one of our programs years ago where every single thing was automated to the point where it was like calling the cable company and you can't talk to a human being. And he couldn't figure out why he wasn't growing and why people weren't buying. And I was like, dude, you gotta bring back some human touch here, And so I think it happened before these recent years, but yeah, I would say it's extremely important, and it's really low hanging fruit, because we're not Amazon as a contractor. If I'm a contractor, I'm not Amazon, right? Like I'm a local business that's most likely working in a couple zip codes, building certain projects, things like that. And I want to show that I'm adding value back into the community. I want to be involved, like whether it's networking groups, whether you join some committee that helps fundraising in the town and you get to meet people. That's where a lot of magic happens. I had a guy, one of my main competitors many years ago, did no formal advertising, none of the stuff we were doing, and his business was just kicking butt. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I'm on this committee here. I'm on this. He was getting the inside scoop to what projects were going to be happening, and all this because of relationships. And so, and I think it's just, we're human beings. We're wired to want relationships with people that we trust and stuff. So I think it's massive low hanging fruit for a business.
Releasing the book, Winning the Contractor Fight. I gotta think it's a lot when you take on the task of crafting a book, because you almost want to fit in everything, but you want to put out something that's 8,000 pages. If you wouldn't mind, let me kind of dive in perhaps the process that you went through to figure out how to really construct this book, because again, I've heard you speak, and obviously, just from the first part of this episode, we can tell that you have a lot to share, but what was the mindset going into, making a book like Winning the Contractor Fight and trying to figure out, how you wanted to guide people through page after page?
Yeah. So it's been on my radar for years, and I actually started writing the first couple chapters over 2 years ago, and then I never did anything with them. I didn't finish. I just got hung up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I went to an event earlier in 2021. I went to an event in the spring. My fiance Lee was with me, and we left this event. There were a lot of things that happened there, and I'll brag a little. It wasn't as cool as my event. Okay.
Fair.
It was just there was no real rhyme or reason to it. It just blah, blah, blah. And some of the things that were happening from the stage, and it just didn't sit right with me. We got back to our hotel room that night, and she goes, honey, you need to write the damn book. And I said, you're right. And what was holding me up is I didn't feel like I had enough to offer. I didn't feel like I had an impressive enough resume. It was my own head trash, right? Back to the mindset. And so now I'm glad that I didn't write it 2 years ago, because it's better than it would have been then, now.
Yeah.
And so we got back home to Colorado from this event, and she says, you need to set your alarm an hour earlier every day. And I swear, man, when that alarm went off, her feet hit the back of my back and shoved me out of the bed. And she's like, go right. And I banged it out in about 10 days. It's only 130 pages or so. And what I tried to do is I tried to write a book that I would read, meaning, I didn't want a lot of fluff. I wanted a mixture of stories, how-tos, and mindset, things. And so far that's the feedback that we've gotten. But that was the process. It was really, I was in my own way of making it happen, because of my own limiting or negative self-talk, that it probably won't be good enough and all this other stuff. And you know what? It might not be good enough for some people, and for some people it's going to change their life. And so, just like anything, right?
Yeah. A question kind of popped in my head as you're kind of describing that answer is how often does either your partner Lee or your team have to, I see like the signs you have in the background, something, how often do they have to point at your own words to you, Tom, and be like, hey, be confident, hey, determination here, having a support team, I talked about being able to call one another out, how often does that happen to you? Because I think sometimes people think with someone like yourself that is very confident and helps a lot of other people, that it's so much a solo quest, but you described at least twice within this conversation of your team kind of rallying through you.
Well, I'm incredibly blessed. Between my team and my queen, we call her the queen. I'm called out on something every day of the week. So, meaning my own BS that I'm telling myself, my own limiting beliefs, or, I have a file. It'll take me too long to find it in my phone right now because it's buried, but I have a notes page on my phone of certain things that have been said to me. And one of the things, and I might have put it in the book, to be honest with you. I don't even remember if I put it in the book. I'd be surprised if I didn't. Here it is. Maybe I did. Yeah, it's the first bullet point in that chapter 14 of Random Thoughts. She says to me, Tom, you need to quit being the weak link here. And this was said to me by my queen when I was being an idiot. She called me out. This has stuck with me as I reflect on how often to make sure I'm never the weak link again. And so, I welcome that. I want to be better. I don't want to shortchange the people I care about. And so when I'm being a knucklehead, I'm pretty much called out by somebody in my very inner circle, my other business partners, things. I'm really blessed with the people I have. I have coaches that work for me that are not partners that can text me and go, hey, the way you came across the other day was a little this or that. And, we need to talk about, we just really, and I think that's the culture, where I'll pat myself on the back a little bit here, is that I've created, is that we're not going to BS each other. We can tell each other the truth. We're safe here. And so I'm blessed with that, but I get called out all the time, man. Because I go in the tank. I'd say probably, people are surprised at this, probably 1.5 to 2 days a month, and they're usually in a row. It's like a day or two. Yeah. I go dark. I go almost really depressed about, it could be anything. And it's, and I think it's usually when I start dwelling too much on me feeling like I have to carry everybody, if that makes sense. In my team's way more talented than I am, but I'm still the leader, right? So I'm still in our family and my business. And every now and then I have these moments where I start getting negative on myself and doubting myself. And over the years, I've been able to recognize it. So now when I see it coming, I know I need to work out more. I work out every day, but if I start feeling it, I'll go do something physical, or I'll pull her, one of my partners or team, trusted advisors aside, and I'll go, my mindset coach that I work with, I'll be like, hey man, I'm starting to go negative again. We got to, and I just get it out into the light, and that kind of minimizes the damage.
Tom, if someone listens to this episode, it's their first chance getting opportunity to see you or hear you, and they either want to learn more, they want to connect, where should we direct them towards?
thecontractorfight.com. You can go there, and like I was saying about the book, if somebody wants to grab the book, we'll give you the book for free. You just got to pay shipping and handling. You go to thecontractorfight.com/book. It's on Amazon and all that as well, but don't pay for it if you don't need to. Head over there and pick it up. And we're also, if somebody wants to see what we've got going on with the TV show and some other things, go to Instagram, Real Tom Reber, and you can follow us there as well.
Awesome. And we'll have all those links down in the show description or the show notes, wherever you happen to be tuning into this episode. Tom, I wish you the best of luck going forward. Looking forward to more opportunities to get to work with you. And of course, getting ready for the HGTV show and really finishing up the rest of that book as well. But thank you once again for taking some time out of your day to join us on the NiceJob Podcast.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Sean.
Thanks so much for checking out the video. Remember, you can listen to the full episode of our podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Buzzsprout, or wherever you get your podcasts. Here on YouTube, I want to invite you to subscribe by clicking right there, or you can check out 2 other videos. One, our most recent podcast, and the other to learn a little bit more about NiceJob. So click one of those things, and I can go home.